Well, hi everybody, it's the Week in the Tackle podcast, the podcast where we get together on a weekly basis and tackle something from the world of football and or soccer that we thought was interesting. I'm Tom running alongside me, MLS legend, top broadcaster, a man getting revved up for another 10-day Pochettino love fest. It's only Brian Dunny Dunseth. Hello, buddy, you all right?
I'm fantastic, Rennie. Good to be with you. Had a fun weekend down in Miami. Got to spend some time with the good folks over at FIFA Hospitality as well as Kun Aguero. It was incredible. And then the clouds opened up, the dump started, and within 30 seconds of being in the car and on the freeway, after thinking that we were sinking driving through puddles, Max Bretos expertly got us on the freeway, and within an exit, the freeway was completely dry as we made ourselves up to Fort Lauderdale. We were part of the Inter Miami Lionel Messi call against the New England Revolution, the Sergio Busquets love fest at the end of the match upon his announcement of the retirement from the game. And overall, fun experience, man. I miss being back down in Lottie Dottie.
I have questions for you about all of this, and so we're now going to do the entire first 5 minutes on this. Firstly, what did you and Sergio Aguero talk about? Did you have a shared frame of reference? He's like a gamer. Were you talking about the kids, the games that your kids play or something? How did you speak to him?
No, so there was a little clinic, and I can't remember the name of the club. God, it's escaping me now. It was something 5 down in Miami.
Right.
But they did
It's
3-on-3s,
Miami,
4-on-4s. Great little kids, high technical skill. We were always asking them, like, what's your favorite player? What's your favorite move? Let's see your celebration. It was great. And this is part of FIFA Hospitality. Kun Aguero has been, I guess, kind of registered as FIFA Miami captain.
Right.
So anything that's happening down there, he's a part of. It was fun to watch Max Bretos say to him, because I think people forget that Max has been around calling games in the U.S. for a long, long time. He actually called for Fox Soccer Channel back in the day. I think it was Fox International. Kun Aguero's debut as a professional when he was 15 years old.
Really?
Back in Argentina, yeah.
Was Max doing this in like nappies, like diapers?
No.
What are you talking about?
Max has been doing this for a long, long time. So, Max, he told him, and we just had a quick laugh. He felt more comfortable speaking Spanish, even though he understands everything in English and would respond in English.
You're a journalist, mate. You're a scab.
Yeah,
so be careful around you.
I asked him a couple of questions. My big one was like memories as a kid watching Argentina in the World Cup, and his memories playing in the World Cup. My kids were at a fine establishment in Barcelona called Waffle, watching the.
Why are you always bringing up Waffle? You're obsessed with Waffle.
Because that's where we watched the World Cup in Qatar, and we watched the finals between France and Argentina. And Shia was wearing the Kun Aguero jersey. Micah was wearing the Messi jersey while we were at Waffle watching France against Argentina.
This is going to upset us in the algorithm, you know. This all got to get beeped, all this.
Okay. The Phallic Waffle is where we watched it on La Rambla.
There you go.
You're welcome, Tim. Sorry.
Richard Waffle was there. It was there for you. You didn't need Phallus. You could have just done Richard.
It was fun. I told him that story, and then you knew very quickly we were around some people that were true Floridians, true Miamians, because all of a sudden a slight gust of wind happened, and everyone's like, "Nope, it's about to dump," and they all went and scattered while we were interviewing Kun. They all went to get underneath, kind of the covered area. The VIP tent, and we're sitting there with microphones, electricity, all the fun things.
Not bad.
And the rain literally goes from like drizzle, drizzle to like boom, and so we're all underneath, and ended pretty quickly, but a fun 24 hours nonetheless. And even to the point where I got to take a walk down A1A in Fort Lauderdale and stop by an establishment where I had my own personalized card for 95% off food when I joined the Miami Fusion. And that said, Brian Dunseth, Miami Fusion, Hooters.
Yes.
And I got 90% off of my food at Hooters, which is a fine establishment. And you can eat surprisingly healthy when you really put your mind to it. You can. You really can.
There are some places that I refuse to eat food, and Hooters is one of the places I don't want things in my mouth.
Loser.
No.
Wait, you don't want Hooters in your mouth?
I've only seen it in movies, but don't you have like strip clubs where people have a buffet? Like I only know this from like
100%.
How I Met Your Mother and things. It looks
100%.
I can't imagine anything more hideous than having like, I don't know, a roast dinner while some woman's on a pole dancing. It sounds
steak.
Horrendous.
It's a steak.
It's where you've got an obesity problem in this country. Is you can't even look at a pair of without eating a steak.
We got a lot of things wrong. I'm
Fam-
not sure
can I
that's one
say,
of them.
is that family show or is that? Sorry, Tim. I don't know.
Sorry, Tim.
That's
Yeah.
all sorts of problems. Away from that, sounds gross. Talk to us a bit about the Messi game. So you'd worked on Messi games for Argentina previously, but this was your
Yeah.
first MLS Messi. Tell us a bit more about that, and also expand a bit on the Busquets farewell, because over here in England, where I am, like, we were looking at some of this sort of. I was with a few sports journalists on sort of Monday morning, and we were a bit like, wait, hasn't Busquets been there for like 20 minutes? Why is he getting all this pageantry? Like, you go
Yeah.
back to Barca and get the pageantry. For Inter Miami, he's been a perfectly acceptable servant, but like, it was all a bit beg friend for me.
Yeah, I mean, you guys come at it from a different angle. 3 years he's been a part of this. 2.5 seasons he's been a part of this. He was one of the originals with Lionel Messi coming over and Jordi Alba, and that was the trifecta originally before Luis Suarez joined, and now obviously Rodrigo de Paul joining the group. He had his farewell. He had his acknowledgement at the Camp Nou before they tore it down. Right before they tore it down, actually, from Barcelona and Joan Laporta and everybody involved. So the games itself, I'd called Inter Miami and Lionel Messi during the FIFA Club World Cup with Andres Cantor, like the iconic play-by-play voice in Spanish and English here in the United States. So I was familiar, but yeah, this was my first MLS game with Max Bretos, and you kind of have to be okayed to get these type of games. So it took us a while. We're really fortunate, really lucky, and really happy with the opportunity. Tadeo Allende was fantastic with his 2 goals. Jordi Alba had 2 goals. He had only had 3 on the season. He was fantastic. Messi had 2 or 3 helpers. His goal contributions are now 40, 41 goal contributions. We call those goals and assists over here, goal contributions.
Yeah.
Suarez was dynamic in moments and just a presence. And then ultimately Busquets and DePaul really bossed the midfield. New England made some horrible mistakes specific to giving the ball away right before the end of the first half. That made it 2-0, dead to rights. Then they finally scored, Dor Turgeman, the Israeli international. And then they gave up a goal literally 30 seconds later. So to your point about the final whistle and Sergio Busquets, it was announced that he was retiring at the end of the season. I think this was an idea for Jorge Mas and ownership to acknowledge him for the 2.5 seasons he's been a part of Inter Miami. He's been a really big part. I think he's one of the most complete modern day defensive midfielders, that it's not about strength and it's not about speed. It's about intelligence and the art of his movement with and without the ball. I know he's an agitator in a lot of ways, and I know he's disliked by a lot of different opposing fans. But for me, he's always been one of my favorites to watch with the way that he controls the rhythm and the tempo, and you very rarely see him give the ball away. So, you had Puyol, you had Xabi, you had Iniesta, you had all of the big names that did a video thing for him. He was out there on the field with his fans. It was a cool acknowledgement for the fans to be able to kind of show the respect from what he's done for the last 2.5 years. We got to remember, Inter Miami is in its infancy. And, the previous 3 years before that trifecta of Messi, Alba, and Busquets got here wasn't great, Bob. Was not great. So,
Yes, no, but it was a little bit like, though, because as we heard from Mateus a couple of weeks ago, Messi's dad runs the club, and it sort of felt like a bit like Messi said to his dad, "Can you throw a party for my friend?" Which is fine. Someone has got to go to Waffle family show. Or sorry, Tim, and get the goods in. I guess that's another dump.
yeah,
Richard Waffle. Or what's Spanish for
Phallic,
Richard?
phallic
Ricardo
waffle.
Ricardo
phallic,
Waffle.
Phallic waffle. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think there was Franco Panizo on Twitter actually put up a video that made it look like, it kind of made us assume that Messi was kind of bothered by it. Quite the opposite of what you're suggesting. But I also think there's a weird nuanced dynamic of us as former players and I know this happened with me with my buddy Leighton O'Brien. We were thick as thieves. And then all of a sudden the end of the line came for him. And I kind of like separated myself from him. I was like, ooh, like, man, you're done playing soccer. Like, I'm still playing soccer.
So you didn't want to be thought of in the same way because you were still
yeah,
going, sort of thing.
Yeah, because
okay.
you're like, I think insecurely what happened, and we actually didn't have a falling out, but we had like a big conversation about this later in life. It was like, dude, you kind of like left me hanging, like when I needed you most. And I was like, I don't know what was happening. Like, I kind of felt like I wanted to be there for you, but like, I didn't know what to say. And so I didn't realize until my time came that all of a sudden people looked at me differently. Like, they was like, oh, what are you up to? And it's like, yeah, not much. And like, and I felt like so insecure about it. And then the one time I actually tried to talk to my friends about it, they're like, shut the up, bro. Sorry, Tim. They're like, you don't get to complain. Like you made it. We were sitting at home watching you. Like we were living vicariously through you. Like don't complain to us, bro. Like we're working, we went to school, we're working 9 to 5 jobs and you're out there traveling the world and playing soccer. And like psychologically all of a sudden you're like, I like not only am I depressed by not being able to play anymore, but now I can't talk about it because my friends aren't having it. And so it becomes like when people are talking about like psychologically struggling to re-identify who they are without the game, like that's a real thing because you're no longer the soccer player, you're just the human being. And no matter how much money you have or what, the glory or the fame or the winning of things or going to World Cups or Olympics or any of that stuff, that's all in the past. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, yeah.
So now you kind of have to find this unique balance of like reestablishing who you are. And I think there's a weird thing that happens. So, I mean, if you're Suarez, you're way closer than you are Messi to being in Busquets' situation. If you're Jordi Alba, you got legs that can run for days. You're years away from seeing the end of the finality of the game. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm sitting there watching it and I'm like looking for body language because it's something that I lived through on both sides. And I think overall, again, I know it's looked at it through a different lens and whatever. MLS is very easy to smack around for a lot of people's perspectives.
It's fun.
But I thought it was respectful. I like the fact that they were acknowledging the importance of what he's become, not only winning a Leagues Cup, but winning the Supporter Shield, setting the record for most points, and knowing however this ends, the finality of his career, however many games are left, they wanted to do it in front of a sold out fan base that they made sure that they could maximize the opportunity to pay him off the right way.
Yeah. Could finish his career with an MLS Cup as well in the next few weeks. So we'll certainly cover that on the pod. Listen, we'll come back to MLS later. I want to end the show on a union question because I want to do our yearly "Why does no one in America care about the league?" thing. I'd like to squeeze that in, but I am conscious we've done 10 minutes on MLS. So let me get to another thing I wanted to get your view on, and that is the celebration police, which it's getting to me now. And I think we're always tweaking the rules of football, right? And IFAB are always getting in their little huddles and coming up with something new. And why don't we do this? And why don't we do that? And so forth. The Enzo Maresca thing this weekend, I thought was awesome. I thought it was awesome what Enzo Maresca did. And if you haven't seen it, Chelsea get the late winner from Estaval at 97th minute or whatever. And he does the whole Mourinho thing. He runs down the sideline. He celebrates with his players at the shed end. Fantastic, right? And Enzo Maresca, a lot of my friends are Chelsea fans. And I think he's a really good manager, done a really good job. And I'm an outsider, right? So I don't necessarily have to watch him 90 minutes every week. Almost every Chelsea fan I know doesn't like him. And they're still calling him Diet Pep. And they're still like slagging off Conference League and slagging off World Club Cup. And if we don't win the Premier League, we're useless and we're irrelevant. They've got very weird standards at Chelsea. I think he's done fantastic and he's a really sort of interesting coach. And he's got all these young players and they're beating Liverpool and they're winning way more than they're losing.
PSG.
And, yeah, don't disrespect those Club World Cup victories as well from the quarters onwards. That they were very well managed games in loads of ways. Winning without Cole Palmer, all of it, right? So he needs a moment. He needs a thing. He needs get behind me moment, and this was kind of it. And when Enzo Maresca leaves Chelsea 1 year, 2 years, 10 years from now, like if it's as successful as it seems like it's going to be, and has been already, they might be in like the mega store selling the Enzo Maresca light grey trackie. Light grey trousers, light grey coat. That's the Maresca look. I could go to a fancy dress party as Enzo Maresca if I just take these off. Look, I could be Enzo Maresca.
Hey, Enzo, it's good to see you. Brian Dunstad.
He's taken my beard and look back in the room.
We spoke in New York. Oh, never mind. It's Rennie. Back
in the room. That could be handy for every bald Chelsea fan, which I'm led to believe is 100% of Chelsea fans. They've now got a fancy dress they can do at Halloween.
I thought that was just England.
No, yeah, it's quite a lot of us. It's quite a lot of us hanging our flags on lampposts like fucking idiots. Sorry, Tim. I was annoyed about it, and it was a second yellow, and he got the second yellow for it, and it was a bit like, why are we doing this? Like, I fully understand, Dunny, why some things can be insightful. So, like, if you go to the opposition fans and do a bit of Jamie Vardy or whatever, I don't know. I'm fine with it, but like I can understand why there might be some sort of regulations. But like it's at home with his own fans. Like let's loosen up.
Yeah.
the celebration police. Let's stop it completely. Let's rewrite the rules so we can actually have celebrations because we need it. We deserve it. Life is a misery, and when something great happens, let these guys, like you just said, we want to vicariously live through Enzo Maresca. I want to believe I could be that cool whilst being bald. Sorry, Landon, but you can. So I just feel like, it's a joke, isn't it? Why are we policing this?
Yeah, listen, I actually missed exactly why he got the yellow card in the 40th minute because I was in the car heading down to Miami to do that thing with Max with Aguero. So when I turned it on in the second half, I think I was right before the Gakpo goal when I was able to turn it back on. So I was completely unaware. So when I watched this in real time, and Esteval, by the way, Esteval's push, Esteval's services left foot with Enzo, 90th plus 5, could have been the game winner. Then who was it? It was Curtis Jones, could have then had the game winner. They pushed it wide.
Yeah.
And then finally Esteval, and I know everyone's talking about Mo Salah, but if you go back, I watched it again this morning. You've got 7 players at the inside or at the top of your own penalty area, as well as Verts back pressing, and Endo gets the pass with Cucurella to the end line, and then getting beat at the back post by Esteval is completely unnecessary. So you have a breakdown. I just didn't like, oh, Mo Salah's not tracking back. They were fine defensively. They didn't need Mo Salah to track Cucurella in that moment. I get it. Anyways, but so I see the celebration happen, and I don't know why I missed the yellow card. I only saw the straight red card. I saw the secondary. He must have gone and then gone back.
Second yellow. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was second yellow because he had the 40th minute, and so I understand why he gave him the second yellow. If he doesn't get the first yellow in the 40th minute, which again I missed it, so I don't know why. I would assume he was chirping. Then that's on him why he got the second yellow, because ultimately he shouldn't be sent off for that celebration. It's the same idea as you take your jersey off, you get a yellow card. We saw this with Ekitike the other day. This is me, bro. This is me. I'm your number 9, bro. This is me. Boop. Hey, knucklehead, you already had a yellow card. That's not fun, and it's a stupid cup match. So yeah, I think.
But also let him do it, right? Like, let him do it. What if Ekitike's thing becomes that? Why can't that become his thing? That whenever he scores, he puts his shirt on the corner flag. Like, who cares?
Yeah,
Who cares,
I don't.
really?
I don't care. I don't care.
Wasn't this an NFL thing at some point where they weren't allowed to do any
anything.
celebrations?
You can't.
But
Well,
you can now, right? Or
listen,
you can't.
it's socks. It's the length of your. It's the length of your towel on your waistband. It's all those things.
But they
It's
were getting done for
the
like
rule police.
dancing, all that stuff a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
No?
I don't know. I'm not paying attention to NFL.
No.
I'm not really a big NBA NFL guy at the moment. But yeah, listen, I agree with you. But this is the same conversation, right? We had the delays and the VARs. It takes the passion out of the game. It takes the monumental moments out of the game. Connectivity with the fan base. All of those things. I would rather. I don't think. If you haven't played at a high level, you don't understand how hard it is to score a goal.
Yeah.
And those blackout moments where it all just like you hear a hum in your head and you're just running and it's like slow motion. And you're like, yeah, I just fucking scored, man. Sorry, Tim. Sorry, Tim. And you get to the corner flag and you do whatever the celebration is. Like it's just a hum and all of a sudden you're, yeah. And like everyone starts hitting you and then the crowd bumps in. Like those moments, they're hard enough. So I agree with you. Again, responsibility, culpability, you know the rules. Don't do it. Don't get the yellow card in the first place. Not a big deal. If you hadn't gotten the yellow card, if you're at Ekitike, then you know that you can't take your jersey off. Everybody understands at this stage. But I agree with you. Those are one of those moments, though, that I think there's a connectivity with the coach and the group that is important to have. And it's one of those where you look back somewhere down the line, you say, guys, remember that Liverpool game? Yeah, that was it. That's what we got in us.
Yeah, there's a definite Maresca's Chelsea right now, which I think could stand them in good stead.
Yeah.
More broadly on Liverpool, you mentioned the Mo Salah thing, which I think was quite interesting in terms of like what he offered defensively. If it isn't just Salah, and I think that's probably right, that it's not just Salah not tracking back. However, it is worth noting it's part of it. Like Mark Cucurella was speaking to Sky Sports after the game, and he said like it had been noted Salah wasn't going to track back, so he could press a little bit higher because Salah stays forward. But we sort of knew that
every
coming
year,
in.
though.
That's
every year. Yeah.
But it is quite interesting the way Chelsea exploited it where other teams don't. And then the Liverpool backline sort of was like Szoboszlai and Gravenberch at the end, and Van Dijk's looking more exposed than ever, just like twerking in the penalty area when Caicedo has that shot in the first half. Do people still twerk? I don't know. It's an old reference now. But like, there's probably a whole other word now. The kids are all dancing in some disgusting way, probably down at Richard Waffles. But like, what do you make broadly of this Liverpool little run of form and how soft they have looked at times defensively?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago now, I was on here talking about I don't think Liverpool's playing that great because it looks like they're still trying to figure it out, but they're figuring out ways to win. And now it's quite the opposite, and it's been a bad week. And remember, they had a bad week in the run up, PSG, and then the FA Cup semifinal, and then heading into a Premier League title. Treble was on the line, and that bad week we kept saying. I think there's a lot of factors, man. I think Luis Diaz wanting out and going to Bayern Munich. Obviously, the horrific loss of life for Diogo Jota. Trent Alexander-Arnold moving to Real Madrid. The decision to re-sign Virgil van Dijk and Mo Salah, how that's looked back near the end of the season. Going out in an international window and bringing in Kirkus to compete with Andrew Robertson. With Frimpong, I'm not sure. I think he's not Bradley, he's not Trent, but he also isn't Salah. So in that hybrid of a position, what does that look like? And how much space does that leave Konate? Because I think he's been very exposed in moments. If McAllister and Gravenberch are indeed your true number, like sixes holding pivots, what does that mean for Szoboszlai? Because right now you spent 100 million on Wirtz and you were playing Szoboszlai at right back for a minute. And then I think they're missing the verticality and the pace on the left-hand side because Gakpo is a very good player, but not the same. Completely different player profiles than Luis Diaz. And then up top, Ekitike comes in thinking he's going to be the man. And now Alexander Isak for 150 is the man as well. So you've got what seems like an adjustment of a system, certainly a similar culture, and yet very different personalities behind the scenes, and ultimately a manager that now has to figure out ways to pick the starting 11 without the starting 11 picking itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I think last year's starting 11 picked itself.
Yeah.
I don't think this one does. And by the way, if you're going to make 3 changes across your back line in the 46 minute and then 56 minute, that should be pause for concern. And I don't think the international window could have come at a better time.
The other question out of Liverpool, then I get to something else, is on Mo Salah offensively, not defensively. I've got the stat here from before the game. I don't have it post, but again, you can prove anything with stats, right? But there's a couple. I thought this graphic was quite interesting. So last season, after 6 games, he had 68 touches in the opponent's box. This year is 36. Non-penalty goals this time last year was 3. Now it's 1. Non-penalty shots last year was 19. Now it's 9. I think that was quite significant. Goals and assists 8 this time last year, 4 this year, but 3 pence. And someone on Sky this weekend was talking about him, and it was a player perspective, which is why I want to put it to you. And it was, look, Mo Salah has been the man at Liverpool for a long, long time, and seems like a good guy, obviously loves the club, negotiated his contract well, but also he is a delicate little flower footballer who's used to being the star man, who's used to having his hiney kissed every morning, and his mummy tells him everything's going to be all right. You're the superstar here, bud. You're the main man here. Don't you forget it. You're a special little guy. You're my number one person. And anyone who says anything about you is wrong, right? Blah, blah, blah. All that sort of stuff. They need to be loved, some people. And strikers tend to be those people, right? And now he's seen Florian Wirtz come in. Okay. And he's seen Ekitike come in. Okay. And he's seen Isak come in. Okay. That's interesting. And this whole new team is in. And it's gone from being Salah's team to contribute or you're out. And I just wonder your thoughts on whether you think that might be affecting the form a bit at the moment, or that's just speculation, rumor.
Yeah, I'll come at it from maybe I'll attack it from a different point of view, because as you're talking, I understand exactly what you're saying. They had to do this. I think they had to bring in all these players. Obviously, again, reference point: Luis Diaz wanting to go to Bayern Munich, the loss of Diogo Jota. They had to spend money. They had to go for it. I don't know if they had to go. They had to go for competition at right back for Connor Bradley, especially with some of the injury concerns. I'm not sure if they had to go for Kirkes, but Maybe they saw something in Andy Robertson that the legs weren't what they once were. Um, if they were going to indeed continue with Mo Salah, they had to figure out ways to maybe alleviate some of the pressure on him carrying the load of all the goals and assists. So maybe all these stats are telling us that the team is getting better around him and he's not the outlier, that he doesn't need to be the outlier. And by the way, for all the talk about Florian Wirtz, I think if you dig into the statistics, which I did the other day, when you talk about key passes and goal generation chances, he leads the team. And it is outlandish, his numbers compared to everybody else. But we're like, oh, he's not defending. He's not staying collected. He's not. These are all complementary pieces. I'm of the belief, and again, not a Liverpool guy by any means, right? I'm a United guy. I look at that team. I don't see anybody that has to be the guy anymore. I see them as a collective of complementary pieces. And again, I think we, at some point, he's 33 years of age. At some point, we do need to recalculate the way that we view Mo Salah as being the elite of the elite, Harry Kane type of numbers each and every single year to, hey, man, by the way, 15 and 20 isn't a bad year.
Yeah.
You know, like 30 and 25 is absolutely fucking nuts. Sorry, Tim. But like, he's still a really good player. And the numbers that you're putting up are giving us the numbers that effectively change, losses to draws and draws to wins.
Yeah, I guess Liverpool might say he's not on 10 and 10 money. He's on 30 and 30 money or whatever. Like,
yeah, no, I get it. Yeah.
Well, we'll see how that plays out. It's an interesting narrative with a really interesting title race this year. I want to talk to you a bit about our friend Ange Postecoglou. And I want to read you a quote from him. But firstly, another quote from the character Malcolm Tucker from the program The Thick of It, which became Veep in America. But it was the British version. It's obviously kind of small fry and pitiful, like British politics. And there's a minister called There's a minister called Nicola Murray who's about to get. She's useless.
Lewis Dreyfus, yeah, okay.
But in the British version, like she's a terrible minister for a small department, and she thinks she's gonna get the sacked. And Malcolm Tucker, who's like the scary spin doctor guy, says this to her. He says, swearing in this, Tim, he's Scottish accent. I'm gonna do it. He says, "The Prime Minister's not gonna sack you after a week. Sacked after 12 months, looks like you f***ed up. Sacked after a week, looks like he's f***ed up." And that's the quote from Malcolm Tucker about Nicola Murray. And that leads me to Ange Postecoglou, who has now not won in 7 games. It's 2 draws and 5 losses in 5 days when they played the game on Sunday. And his post-match comments were, again, just typically Ange Postecoglou. Here's what he said. He was asked, like, what's going on at Forest, something like that. And he said, quote, "Now it's a lost cause. Ha ha ha. I mean, seriously, what's wrong with something being had? I'm sure you, reporter, your parents had a struggle in life, right? And they didn't give up. You may even have been a lost cause at some point yourself, but they didn't give up on you, right?" And I just he doesn't endear himself to anybody. And I keep saying this to people, and it's very difficult. I think maybe, I'm sure there's an American equivalent of this, but like there's been a war between the Brits and the Australians in terms of like banter, and it points literally for like 200 years. Think of the Ashes, right? And we struggle with Australian humour as Brits. We always have done, because they don't really have one. They're just sort of like aggressive at all time. There's subtlety to Australian humour. And so whenever you try and banter with an Australian, there's a kind of levity to what sort of Brits at their best would say. Sort of a bit like the Ryder Cup to a degree, right? What we experienced last week, where Aussies are just like, f*** off. Sorry, Tim. There's like they don't do subtlety in their humour, and there's always a miscommunication in it. That's why there's so many punch-ups in walkabouts if you ever come to London. And I just sort of feel like that keeps happening in Postecoglou. It's why he fell out with all the press at Tottenham. It's why I think in the end the fans had enough of him. And he goes into this job where Forest fans are sort of reeling from losing Nuno and Marianakis doing the kind of Malcolm Tucker Prime Minister thing. And now he hasn't won in 7. And then he gives this press conference. And then there's another bit, Dunny, which I'd love your view on. Again, player perspective here, which I think is really interesting. But from a fan perspective, St James's Park, all the players go up to the sort of fans who sit in the gods at St James's. But Postecoglou is just slightly away from it. And there's no interaction between the players and the manager. Maybe something, maybe nothing. But like, it's gone so bad. Is there a point where Marinakis, the owner, would say, yeah, look, I've screwed this. You can go now and there's no great damage done? Or does he have to now see this through for a year because it's only been 25 days? Like, what's going to happen here?
Yeah. By the way, I was pulling up their upcoming schedule, and my God, it is going to be a serious challenge through the next international break. But before we talk about this, they've got Chelsea at home coming out of this international break, Porto in the Europa League at home. Then they go to Bournemouth, home against United, away against Sturm Graz, home against Leeds, and that gets them to the next international break, which then kicks off, and they are at Anfield against Liverpool. That is, yeah. So if you're Marinakis, you see the schedule, and you say, okay, you got through the next window. You got through the next window to get this right. In a way, I feel for Ange because he comes in, he's got to win over the players and he's got to win over the fans immediately, and he's got to win the media as well. He knows the way he left was on a high and yet a low. He admitted that he knew he was going to get the sack 6 months earlier. He admitted, even though publicly he pushed back time and time again, don't question my integrity, mate, over and over again, when he was placing emphasis on Europa League as opposed to the performances in the starting 11s in the Premier League. But he ultimately won the title, and that's the most important thing. He brings the trophy to Spurs, unceremoniously sacked immediately. For Big Ange, he's the type of guy that I would love to have a drink with, love to share a dinner, like his perspective on life, the way he sees things. I align with a lot of the things with how he's like, hey man, this is some bullshit. Sorry, Tim. Like that's what he's basically saying. Like your line of questioning, everything that you're talking about, this isn't life or death. It's a game of football. Calm the down. Sorry, Tim. I got to stop. I promise.
We've got to stop. I'm sorry, Tim. We've got to stop now. That's far too many. We're way over quota.
Guys, I'm stopping.
We're way over quota.
But I think in all of this, that's not what fans want to hear.
Yeah.
That's not what players want to hear. That's not what the media wants to hear. And he's an easy target because he didn't give himself enough time away from the Premier League to come back in and be like, hold on, guys, remember, like I won the Europa League. Like, give me I deserve some time.
But should he just not have taken this job, Dunny? Like, I guess that's the point here. He shouldn't have taken it.
Yeah, it came quick. I don't know if he had to. And even when he referenced like, hey, I could have been at home, watch. Excuse me. Big sneeze.
No. Beat that out. That was the most offensive swear word he said all show.
Oh man, that was a big sneeze. You know, he makes his jokes, you know, he takes his shots. Like, you know, I didn't need to come back. I could have been sitting on the couch listening to you lot on mute. Well, some of you guys on mute. Like, he knows what he's doing. He's highly, highly intelligent.
Does that help, though? Does that help?
No, because it makes you even more of a target. It makes you even more of a target. So I think Mikel Arteta's learned that. I think Pep's learned that. I think Jurgen Klopp learned that. It'll be interesting to see how the media deals with Arne Slot, especially if this slide happens. You know, these 3 games, he gets a pass because last year was extraordinary. Ruben Amorim gets 0 pass because of not only the results, but the decisions of making this mysterious kind of like, my system is so much better than the way that you guys talk about my system. And all of this. So, yeah, he's going to get through the next window. I think it would be crazy if he sacked him. But again, you got to give credit to Marinakis. He can do whatever he wants. He pulled Nottingham Forest out of nothing. He's gotten them in. He's put his money where his mouth is. He's invested heavily. He's made sure that clubs can't poach his players that he wants to make sure he keeps. And ultimately, he's proven that he's the big dog. And by the way, he went out and brought in Edu to kind of be in charge of all this. So I don't like the way that Nuno Espirito Santo went out the door. I don't like the conflict of interest that happens sometimes with Edu and the other clubs. I don't like the conflict of interest when you put agents involved in the building and the plot building behind the scenes of what's happening. But ultimately, Marinakis gets to choose, and he's dictated that Ange is his guy until Ange isn't his guy.
Why do you think this keeps on happening, that clubs bring in like a director of football or head of sporting operations or whatever, and this seems to keep on happening to all clubs, be it Milan at the very top level, be it like West Ham and Forest at the mid-level. Like I know it's happening in like League One and League Two in England. I'm sure there's like an American equivalent as well. Like, why does this keep on happening? This fragile group of sort of owner or chairman, director of sport, and then manager are never on the same page. Like, is it just a bad structure?
No, I think it happens more than you realize. I see it happening out here in Major League Soccer more than people realize. Sporting directors, general manager. Well, I think we got to separate this. The Edu situation is because you have multi-club ownership, right? You have a multi-club model ownership. So that one is he's in charge of all three clubs as opposed to just Nottingham Forest. He's just the general manager of Brazil. He's just the sporting director, or whatever his title is. They're stupid. They're the same things. At Arsenal. Now it's a little bit different, right? I can remember having a conversation in Major League Soccer with a general manager who would say to me, I've got to trade so and so, or I've got to bring in a different striker because I've got to save himself from feeling comfortable and doing the same thing over and over. It's the definition of insanity. Because this one coach had the same structure of substitution pattern, would bring in the same player at the same time, and the player was nowhere near being good enough for the level. But he had him and he felt good about it, and the kid was a good kid. And he's like, okay, I know in the 60th minute I'm going to turn to this kid. So the general manager literally said to me, I've got to literally trade him and bring in a different player so he evolves as a coach and doesn't just go back to using the same player. I can also remember the same general manager saying, God, I got to go have a talk with the coach. It's going to be the wolf pack in there. All the three assistant coaches, they're all going to just eat me alive. And they're going to literally do all the dirty work of the coach to take the shots, talk the ish. See, I did it, Tim.
Nice.
Talk the ish, and make sure that I know how they're all feeling. And so, yeah, I don't know if you have to be like this smooth lock in step type of relationship, because it's just not always going to work. But even like a guy like Monchi leaving Aston Villa, is it the ownership group? Is it the board? Or is it the relationship with Unai Emery that dictates his decision? And you know what? Now I've done my job. Didn't like what I had. Didn't give the guy didn't want what he wanted. Screw it. I'm out. Wash my hands. Clean. Dealers out. I think it just is dependent on each and every team.
It's interesting. It seems to happen quite a lot, but then if you get it right, I guess it's what happened at Man City with Guardiola and tell me.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I've lost his name. But
yeah, me
anyway,
too.
The guy they had.
That guy.
Yes, that guy who we spoke about a lot and instantly forgot and never spoke of again. Two other quick bits I wanted to ask you about today. And the last one is Union winning the Shield, because I do want to ask you about that and the whole thing about, like, they won the league, so it should sort of matter. But another thing just grabbed me this week, and I just wanted to put it to you about, because you've spoken to me before about, defending and the physicality of defending. And I've got this kind of going theory about the physicality being back and the cyclical nature of football, and tiki-taka is dead. It's all long throws and headbutts again. There was a great quote from Erling Haaland, who I just love. It just seems like, you mentioned Postecoglou. If I could pick anyone in the world to go out for a couple of nights with, it'd be Erling Haaland. It'd just be, I would eat raw meat on a fishing boat with Erling Haaland if he wanted me to. You know what I mean? It'd be amazing.
Yeah.
And he had this great quote about the Brentford game this weekend, and he is like carrying City right now. He's carrying it. It's like 9 games in a row he scored for Norway and City, different comps and whatnot. And he said this: first 5 minutes, Vandenberg kept pushing me. So I said, he turns into Ray Winstone here, all right, let's have it. And I started pushing him back. I think it was one of my better goals to go against Brentford. I think the physicality helped me. I felt a bit tired before the game, but then in 10 seconds, it motivated me with all the pushing. And he sort of goes on from there. But I thought that was really, really interesting, that it's sort of what you've spoken to us about previously, about the physical battle, and it sort of disappeared for a long time, and you had 2 centre-halves marking no one for like 10 years. And now the 2 centre-halves are trying to get all like, was it Tony Rudiger did it in the Champions League really, really well. But here, it's like, now he's trying it, and Haaland sort of developed now that, actually, no, you. Sorry, Tim, last one. And pushes him off. And he's just like, right, he scored that because the ball to him was crap.
Yeah.
It was a crap, nothing ball. And he was like, I'm going to make something of this by just bullying 2 pretty decent centre-halves. Brilliant, I thought. Loved it.
Yeah, I know a lot of guys, especially forwards, that would manufacture some type of confrontation to like get themselves into the game. And I can always remember Jeff Cunningham being one of my favorite teammates, because like he would just lose it. And you're like, Jeff, like, and he's like, no, man, this guy right now, this guy. And you're like, he didn't do anything, bro. Like, what's wrong? But he'd like, yeah. And then he'd score a goal and be like, ah, like in his face. And you're like, dude, chill out. Like, what? No, he didn't do anything. And the guy's like, I didn't even touch you, bro. And he's like, what'd you say about my mom? Like those type of things. And it's funny you bring this up because I literally was just having this conversation with my 16-year-old. He's a striker as well. And I was like, here's my challenge to you. He's got state cup in here out here in Utah tomorrow night. And the team hasn't been playing well. I said, in the first 30 seconds, I want you to find the biggest guy on the field and I want you to lump him. And he's like, really? And I go, yeah. I want you to figure out a way every time you step on the field that those guys remember you. And I was dropping F-bombs left and right because I was trying to tell him, I was like, dude, you're 6'2", you're 175 pounds, you're pure muscle. Like, he jumped on top of me and tried to pin me. He's doing the whole, like, Dad, I'm stronger than you. I was like,
Yeah.
get off, bud.
Did you?
No, I did.
Don't lie to us.
But I don't have, like, the same grip in my left hand.
What's that purple patch underneath your eye? You got makeup on?
No, not this time. Not this time. But like, I was like, dude, you're strong. Like, you're ready to go. Like, get in there. Like, I wouldn't have wanted to deal with you as a center back. And so I was like, go lump somebody early. Like, make this message of like, damn, this is gonna be like a tough one. Like, I don't want to get smashed today. Like, I remember, like, anytime I went up against big dudes, I give the base of my palm right into the kidneys. I'd give the thumbs to the ribs. I would do everything because I'd get the elbows early. I'd pinch the armpit hair. I'd give like a little elbow, a little pointy into the riblets. Like, you got to manufacture these moments. Like, you got to be there and be like, not like, I'm on. And that's what he said. Like, Erling Haaland, to your quote, was like, a little bit tired. All of a sudden, this guy hits me. It's like, oh, okay, like, let's go, bro. Like, this is a challenge within a challenge. I'm gonna beat you. And I remember I was like that with corners. I'd always take the strongest guy in the air because I was like, yeah, I got you, man. You're not gonna beat me, bro. Like, I wanted that confrontation. I wanted that physical fight. So I think these are fun little things to hear because these are tidbits where these guys will go back in the locker room, be like, did you see this MFer? Did you see what he did? Dude, I got him so good. Like, these are like the curtains being pulled back and be like, oh, it's still alive. All right, it's still good. Like, these guys are still like ready for God, I'm hyped up, man. Hyped up.
Yeah. No more machines, more punch-ups. That's what we need.
We do. Well, honestly, we do.
Now
we
you
do.
mentioned
The game needs more.
It definitely needs more, and like, we need to stop punishing people for that sort of thing and celebrations. You mentioned your boy playing football. Did you see the Kluivert story this week? Let me just ask you about this briefly, about how footballer sperm seems incredibly powerful if you're going to have further footballers. So Patrick Kluivert, of course, legendary footballer. On Wednesday, Shane Kluivert scored for Barcelona under-19s in the UEFA Youth League. On Thursday, Ruben Kluivert scored for Lyon in the Europa League. And on Friday, Justin Kluivert scored for Bournemouth in the Premier League. So I guess what I'm asking is, who's got better sperm, you or Patrick Kluivert?
Much better sperm. He's got a fantastic restaurant off on Barceloneta Beach as well. A little pricey, but still
Richard
a good
Waffle,
one.
is it? Richard Waffle?
No, that one is straight beach. It was so nice, by the way.
It's cool though.
It's
cool. Sorry, Tim. No, sorry, Tim. I saw again.
Yeah. By the way, Josh Wolf here in the States. All three of his boys. His youngest is coming through the academy. He was at Austin. Is center back, left-footed, in Houston. Owen plays at Austin. Tyler plays up in Salt Lake up here. I mean, it's also it's kids wanting to replicate their dad and the history of their dad and seeing their dad if they got to watch him play in those moments. My boys all play, all three play soccer. My hope and desire is that they can play at that level, but in reality, I just want them to love the game and go out for a kickabout on Thursdays and wake up early on Saturdays and be a psychopath and potentially follow Manchester United, much to their own peril. But yeah, man, listen, I had to have this conversation with my kids. Do you want me to be dad or do you want me to be like me? Do you want my institutional knowledge? Because if we're just going to be dad, buddy, I'm so proud of you, man. Did you have fun? It was so much fun watching you. Or do you want me to be like, I can show you things? And they both decided that, my older boys, that, okay, cool. And we want to try that. Because I do a thing when we get in the car. I ask them 3 questions. What do you think? What do you do well? What do you need to do better? That's it. I ask 3 questions. And my 4th one is me saying constructively, this is what I saw very quickly, less than a minute, and then I'm done. And what I've realized is that then it's their opportunity to explain to themselves internally what they're doing well, what they need to be better at. Because I think it's, I'm not joysticking them. I'm on the sidelines. I'm not yelling. I whistle at them and I'll be like, let's go. Like, come on, let's go. Or I'll be like, calm down. It's like, or like start pushing the ball around. Find solution when everyone says keep the ball. I'm like, it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, find solutions with the ball. That means, oh, keep the ball. Cool. I'll kick it back to my goalkeeper. Yeah, I'll keep the ball. It's so dumb. Anyways, I'm on a tangent now. What was I finally going to say? Oh,
I bet these car journeys are a riot.
So the one time it was a very clear definitive. I've had it happen together and then two individually. And the last time, or the very first time, the boys, I was like pissed. And I was like, I didn't say anything. And they're like, "What's wrong, Dad?" And I was like, "Am I your dad right now? Like, I just want to know, do you want my insight as like a former athlete, or am I just dad? Because if I'm just dad, like, hey man, training session." And they're like, "No, what'd you think?" And I was like, that was the biggest effing waste of time, not only for you, but for me. I was like, your training habits are BS. Like, I tore them apart. I was like, your warm up was crap. Your possession was crap. You were walking, you were jogging. There was no emphasis. There was no momentum. There was no, like, you didn't feel the moment. Like, you're getting bodied off the ball. Your finishing was terrible. Like, this has to be. And so I like walked them through what a gigantic waste of time it was. And I was like, I stopped and I was like, I can see in your face that you're shocked. But I was like, if this is what you want, these are the 5 things you guys got to be better at. And I did it individually for both of them. And then I stopped and we didn't talk about it for the next day, they both came back to me individually and they were like, you're right. And so I make them internalize, or I allow them to internalize, because that's the only way, man. I don't want to joystick my kids. I want them to find the game, love the game. And I never want to be the reason why they hate the game. And I'll tell you what, parents out there, stop living vicariously through your kids. I see it each and every day when I'm out of practice, when I'm walking around the fields, when I'm running next to practices, when I'm out watching their games. For the parents out there, lock it up. Stop yelling at the referees. Stop yelling at the coach. Stop yelling at your kids. You're doing a disservice to them. Allow them to find the game themselves. And by the way, when you get in the car, don't hammer them. Why'd you tackle there? Oh, this and that. Like, find a way to connect with them, because I see it every single day. And we got a big problem. And it's youth sports in general, but like, we got a big problem with the way that we're communicating on the sidelines to our kids and to the referees.
That was a top tangent. I enjoyed that. That was fun.
Sorry, I apologize. I get fired up every once in a while.
I very much enjoyed that time. We're trying to fire you up here. I'm trying to get into your ribs, give you a little bit of riblet pinching. Final bit, because I mentioned we were going to do it. I would just like to get your view on Philadelphia Union winning Supporters' Shield.
Oh, not the penalty? We're not going to do the West Ham penalty?
Not by the time, sadly. We're not doing West Ham menu this week.
I was going to tell you why it was a penalty. Okay.
Well, you'd be fucking wrong. Sorry, Tim. But we haven't got the time. We've got the time. We're not doing that this week. Final bit on Philadelphia Union, because I just wanted to... No, I'm not doing it. I want you to be dad right now, okay? You prick.
Got it.
But just... It's always funny to me, this, in that, you win the league, and winning the league is such a different challenge to winning the playoffs, as is, and winning MLS Cup. The league champions aren't always the best cup team, and it's about momentum and luck of the draw and all that sort of stuff. Winning the league really matters, and it's an excellent job that they have done to win Supporters' Shield and win their conference and be the best team in the league. And it's great they lift all that, but it is funny chatting to Americans. They're like, okay, great. And for us, it's like, they won the league. They're amazing. Flowers. And America's a bit like, guess they qualified top for playoffs. I always think
home field advantage.
They deserve their respect for being league champions, I think.
They absolutely do. And for Bradley Carnell, especially how it transpired. Remember, he took St. Louis in their expansion year to the top of the Western Conference. They lost their momentum in the last 2 games. And in 45 minutes, in a home and away leg against Sporting Kansas City, they conceded 4 goals, and everything went I believe it was 4 goals, and everything went sideways. Playoffs were over before, basically as soon as they started. He was let go unceremoniously from St. Louis last season. He gets the Philly job, dials in, the system, the identity, the fans, everything about the Union checks the box. It's incredible. I'm super, super happy for him. Here's the only thing as a quick reminder. What happened in St. Louis, um, what happened last year with Inter Miami, who set the records point with 74 points in a single season, winning the Supporter Shield, and was knocked out in 3 games against Atlanta United, who were pitiful all season long. Pitiful. And that in a season in which we were projecting Inter Miami to play host to an MLS Cup final, it was the LA Galaxy against the New York Red Bulls.
Yeah.
Literally the 2 teams that nobody could have predicted being involved in an MLS Cup final, much less playing each other in an MLS Cup final. So a lot to do. You've got to worry about Messi. You've got to worry about FC Cincinnati. The fact that they have home field advantage is going to be a huge, huge asset to them. But again, control in moments like this, there's some special moments and some special players, and we'll see if the Philadelphia Union can mimic what they did underneath Jim Curtin a couple years ago. And that was single-handedly the best MLS Cup final we ever saw. And I think we could see a repeat, by the way. Philadelphia Union, LAFC, but this time out in Philly.
Yeah, going to be tough for anyone to beat LAFC, but we'll see how that goes. When does the playoffs start? We've got 3 weeks left? 2 weeks left?
No, so in 2 weeks' time is decision day.
Yes.
And the play-in game starts immediately. I believe that following Wednesday. So
we're like 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks from playoffs.
Yeah.
So like 20 days or something like that.
Right around the corner.
Yeah, amazing. Well, we look forward to covering it here on Week in the Tackle. I forgot to do housekeeping at the top, so maybe supplant this at the top of the program. You can subscribe to the program on Spotify if you're listening on Apple. If you're on Apple, you can listen on Spotify. You can watch the show in its entirety on YouTube, where we very much appreciate our new subscribers who are finding us every week, so thank you for that. And if you aren't subscribed on YouTube or listening as a pod, you should subscribe, because it means your algorithm will be better. And of course, normally what you get pushed is and stuff. So this is better than that. That's Brad Dunseth over there. I'm Tom Rennie. The podcast is Week in the Tackle. Tim Horsey produced it, and we'll see you a little bit beyond a week, I think, because Dunny's busy and I want to go sleep for a bit. So we'll see you in like 10 days or something, all right?